Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Resident Rulebreakers. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Camille.
And on today's podcast, we are going to be discussing episode 206, Nightmares. It's the first part of our Halloween special that we'll be doing. It's the first Halloween episode of The Resident, and it was written by Todd Harthan and Andrew Chapman, who are both showrunners for The Resident.
Yay.
And directed by David Crabtree, who he himself has dubbed the holiday guy because he directs a lot of holiday-themed episodes.
And like I said the last time we were on the podcast, he was supposed to be the director of 321, the episode that never happened. We haven't heard if he's going to direct 4-1. Do you know if he has?
I haven't heard anything about who's going to be directing it, but the good news is they are on set to tape it.
Finally,
but they are under strict precautions on who can enter the set. There's 3 times a week COVID testing on the cast and any crew member directly in contact with the cast, and that's probably like the set photographer guy, the cameraman, prop people, makeup artists, stuff like that.
Makeup people, costume designers, background actors. Pretty much everybody. I would assume that it's gonna be hard to do like a lot of scenes if you're doing like 6 foot distancing or whatever.
We were talking about how they're gonna deal with the lot more intimate scenes, and of course we're supposed to have a wedding in the middle of all this. How they're gonna deal with all this, and we were talking about it on Facebook. One of the other girls brought it up, and I was like, well, I guess we'll have to see how they handle it.
I think it would be very realistic if they postponed the wedding, especially since everybody's postponing theirs.
Or they do it virtually, like it's just Conrad, Nick, and like the justice of the peace, and it's virtual, and then they have like a Zoom meeting, and it's Kyle and Marshall.
That just sounds horrible.
Does sound horrible, but it would be realistic at this point.
Ooh, yeah, that is true.
Anyway, yeah, and so we got some information about how they're dealing with these restrictions, and of course, when they're actually on set, they're wearing a shield and a mask to protect them. There was a BTS photo I did find of that scenario where the cameraman was wearing both of them.
Yeah. That's in front of the camera anyway. But yeah, it's gonna be quite interesting as to how this season will look, you know, once they actually air, which it's still, you know, supposed to air in January. We haven't heard of any changes.
No. We haven't gotten information of an air date, but I have a feeling it's coming within the next month.
Yeah. Well, the actual air date will be sometime in the next year, but yeah.
Right. Well, what I meant was we'll actually get confirmation of that.
Oh yeah.
Within the next month. I have a feeling because ABC, NBC, and all of them, they're starting to announce their shows.
Yeah, CBS has already released air dates for 2 of my shows, so that they're airing in November. But I don't know what's going on with Fox. Maybe they're just waiting around for something.
More footage, I guess. But we also have some good casting news. There's a recurring cast character that'll be coming into the show, played by Conrad Ricamora, who was on How to Get Away with Murder. So people who like that show, you might recognize him.
Shondaland.
Yes. And he will be playing Belle's former stepson. He's also a plastic surgeon. He's gay. And he's an amateur musician.
He's also Asian.
Yes, he is. His character's name is Dr. Jake Wong. So.
But yeah, excited for the new characters. I saw that people were like, we already have a big cast. Why they gotta introduce a new one? And I understand why. Personally, we did talk about how introducing a LGBTQ character on the show, but I really had hoped that it was gonna be an already established character, like Grayson.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Grayson makes the most sense to come out as gay or whatever out of all the characters that the resident already have. But I'm kind of excited to finally see an LGBTQ representation on this show. It hasn't been it's been lacking. We've talked about this on a previous podcast, and it seems like the writers should listen.
Yeah. Also, because of the connection to Belle, we'll probably get to see some of his background, because this is his former stepson, and the press release actually says that their relationship disintegrated when the divorce happened, which happens with a lot of stepchildren.
So either Belle had a thing with an Asian woman, maybe.
We'll see how this plays out.
But it's gonna be fun. I'm excited to see, like I said, a new character, but also I just hope people don't like jump into conclusions first without like thinking on it or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was trying to convince people. I was trying to defend the decision they made by saying, don't jump to conclusions this early on when we have months left till we see this episode. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. And he has confirmed he's in Atlanta. So I looked at his Instagram, and he's confirmed he's in Atlanta. So he'll probably be in this
probably
episode.
The whole cast is already in Atlanta, which I'm glad.
Yeah.
There's been no posts. Obviously, we know Emily was there from like filming the Falcon and Winter Soldier or whatever. Manish, I think, was already confirmed to be there. I haven't seen Shawnette confirmed to be there.
Well, we know that Malcolm never left Atlanta.
Yeah, Bella must have come back from Canada. So Bruce,
we'll have to see what happens as we get
I just
into
want some
Chapman.
behind the scenes stuff. I want a group picture of them. I want like confirmation that everyone's there. That's what I want. Even if it's like, because usually when they do start filming, you'd see one of them post a group picture of everybody.
Yeah, so, I mean, they're confirming that they're getting tested and they're on set, but we don't have a cast photo, and I don't know if it's, even if they have to wear their masks and stuff, I'm fine with that. Just something.
Yeah, so I'm waiting for that, like, photo. Guy, hook us up. Where's the damn photo?
Please. Because this is a Halloween-themed episode and Halloween is 2 weeks away, we are jumping into episode 206, which is titled Nightmares. Nightmares, I mean, when it first aired, I absolutely loved it. I was like, this was a really good themed episode. And
the biggest takeaway for me on that episode was 1, Conrad's nightmare, and 2, Mina's outfit.
The Halloween costume.
Yeah.
Yes.
She opened that door and I was just like, damn, okay. With the
headdress, yeah.
Outfit. And so from what I understand, it's Yulene Hufke, who was the costume designer for that season. She said her inspiration was like Valkyrie kind of thing, like warrior goddess Valkyrie kind of mashup.
Well, she looked amazing in it.
Well, put Shawnette in a paper bag should look amazing.
That's very true. And, because I wrote my first topic was the Halloween party. And, and literally my first line was Mina's costume is epic and it's beautiful. So.
Yeah, shoot. Yeah, everybody else's costumes were cool, and except Shawnette's was like, bam.
Because, like, Nick and Jesse, yes, we get some Jesse in this episode.
That's the other thing. Isn't this the episode where, like, Jesse kind of infers Nick's past? With, like, anxiety and all these things.
Well, she has a panic attack in the episode, which I want to talk about, but, like, I also think that this episode led Jessie down to a relapse that she had, the relapse she had, and it was the start of that plot line.
But again, it's like this episode has a lot of plot points that the resident never picked up again.
Which we need to discuss because we know they listen to us and maybe they're still writing, so.
Okay, so writers, while you're listening, we need to talk about Conrad's mother. We've been waiting for about 2 seasons now.
So, but yeah, because Nick's scared Jesse's gonna relapse because there's alcohol and pills and stuff at this party. Yeah. It's not a sober party by any means. And she was right to worry because she did eventually relapse. But Nick has a panic attack in Mina's kitchen. And just, like, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, why didn't they pick up on this storyline more? Why didn't they try to help her start figuring out her anxiety problems or help her try to, go to a therapist, something? It could have been a great plot point. They did touch on mental health in season 3 with her dad, but they didn't. They just dropped the ball on the plot line. They had potential and they just dropped it.
Mental illness is a really scary thing to deal with, even if it's just mild panic attacks or whatever. So every now and then it's still scary.
Yeah, anxiety and of any kind is just difficult to deal with, and especially if you don't have anyone to talk to about it.
Yeah.
So, but then this shows that, at least at this point in the conic relationship, the gap between them, where they weren't really talking about their mental health issues to each other. Conrad didn't want to open up to Nick about his nightmare, and Nick didn't want to talk to him about her anxiety problems. So it goes both ways, and it really was the start of their communication breakdown, which they fixed. But I love the fact that Marshall called Conrad out and said, "You're not exactly an open book." So
yeah,
but Conrad learned how to open himself up more.
Well, he still doesn't. He still has a talk to Nick about his mom,
no.
Or at least not while it hasn't.
Not on screen. He hasn't.
Yeah.
But the thing about this party is that Mina leaves because she was paged for emergency surgery. Leaves Nick in charge, and it goes to crap pretty fast because Nick's more preoccupied with her sister than the party.
Yeah.
And at the end of the episode, Jesse's actually the one that's being a little bit more responsible, and all of Mina's rules are broken. Her rules are hilarious too. Don't throw anything on the rug. Irving needs a better costume before he's let in, and she wants Nick to have fun. It really didn't happen. Because Irving was let in, and then he fell asleep on her sofa, and there was a spill on her rug, and Nick really didn't enjoy herself very much.
Ugh.
And then I love the way Shawnette delivered the line, "This is a nightmare."
That girl. I was just thinking about that girl, the one who had the patients or what, their patient or whatever, who had the nightmares of like levitating and scream. You know what I'm talking about?
I guess the character that was seeing everything.
Yeah,
her name's Laurie.
Yeah, that scene where she's like screaming and like just like that. They had she actually showed the behind the scenes of that, and it's like she's like up on wires dangling and she's screaming like it's no stunt double. That is really her. Jamie Noble is her the actress's name, I think. But yeah, I remember seeing the behind the scenes video of them filming it. It was crazy. And she, like I said, it was not like a stunt double. That whole contortionism thing that she did in that scene, that was her. And I was like, how'd you get your body to contort like that? She was like, yoga.
But no, the character's name is actually Laurie Dante. And at first, they mentioned things like it could be schizophrenia and everything. And I'm glad Conrad went past that, because some writers would have just stopped at that and said, you have schizophrenia. But he actually notes a very horrible stat that women under 35 are the most misdiagnosed people in the United States.
Yeah.
That's just disturbing.
Yeah, not surprising though.
Not surprising. No.
The sad thing is a lot of statistically, women are like the more misdiagnosed than men, because a lot of the medical studies are garnered toward men. They look at heart attacks. The symptoms that we know for heart attacks are usually presented in men. Women have different symptoms when they have heart attacks. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And we're just learning about the difference now, where it's like hundreds of years ago. For hundreds of years, people thought that it was a general population. Like, this is how heart attacks look like. Like, no, that's not how all heart attacks look like.
So yeah, it's a disturbing statistic, but the residents, the one show that would show this information.
Yeah.
But I love the fact this is the part of Conrad's character that I really love, and it's the fact that he digs and he makes sure that he gets the proper diagnosis.
Yeah, we've seen that in a lot of his patient stories, like with Mal's and what's Mal's and the one with the one with the head. What was her name? Wagner's disease.
Mm-hmm, yes.
And stuff. He was always like digging for a diagnosis, even if it was one that wasn't common or whatever.
But before Conrad can, because he has to push Nolan to do the surgery, because she early had to have surgery because she ran through a glass wall,
right,
and damaged one of her arteries, and she was bleeding out. But when they did surgery, Conrad was pushing. They did a scan and found that she had a teratoma, and it was causing all her symptoms. So completely treatable, not like schizophrenia where it's just it's not really treatable.
Yeah. Well, schizophrenia can be
controlled,
sort of,
but not completely treated. This could be completely treated.
Yeah.
Again, kudos to Conrad for doing the job he's supposed to do in her place. There's a little minor comic stuff in this episode, and at the beginning of the episode, Nick's trying to get Conrad to go to the party with her, and she mentions you should wear something in the Marvel universe, which is ironic because Emily actually is in the Marvel universe. And I think I remember when that episode aired. I think I remember them saying, "Oh, Matt would look good as Captain America" or whatever. But of course, they can't actually mention names because all these characters are copyrighted by Marvel. So
yep. The resident would have to pay
big time
pay for it.
But Matt would pull off Captain America pretty well, I think. Anyway, but yeah, the Nick's trying to get him to eat candy and stuff. It's kind of funny. But at the end, when he has his nightmare, she's there to comfort him. He doesn't really tell her what it's about, but she's at least there to comfort him, and it's very touching, I think.
What do you think is the theory on that nightmare? What is your theory on it? Because we know that Marshall denies abusing his mom, which I am hoping is true, but we never actually heard that conversation. But I mean, like, looked like his mother fell down the stairs. Are they trying to imply Conrad is a young kid, pushed his mom down the stairs? Obviously, she lived because he
didn't get that
some discrepancy on that because one episode she was alive long enough to give him a ring before he deployed.
Yeah,
but I don't know.
So yeah, it's a little. The timeline on her death is a little confusing. I really don't know. I mean, a lot of people have childhood traumas that they can't really. I mean, what they experienced is different than what actually happened because.
Yeah. Our memories, the younger we are, gets like changed. Can be influenced or can be different than what's reality or whatever.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I just wish the resident had talked about it. You dropped this big bomb about his past, about his mom, whatever. So you promised a conversation, and what happened?
Yeah, but like Marshall actually doesn't show up on time for the meeting he was supposed to have with Conrad, which Conrad notes is rare because Marshall's never late. And then when he does show up, he won't tell him why. So this makes me go, what's wrong with Marshall? Because we found out in a later episode that he had Crohn's disease. Did he have a flare-up?
Yep.
There's just so many questions that I have about this moment. So, and then Marshall admits in this episode it took 10 years to find Conrad after he left home. Which, considering Conrad was in the military for the majority of that time, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
And of course, like we've already touched on the nightmare, but can someone just please, God, finish the storyline? Give us the background. That would be one of my top choices for a storyline in season 4.
Yeah.
So
weddings and what happened to Conrad's mom.
Yeah. And of course, they have the ER storyline in this episode as well, just to highlight that Halloween's one of the worst nights of the year to end up in the ER, mainly because people get themselves accidentally hurt on Halloween due to costume issues and just so many things can go wrong on Halloween night. It's fine, I don't leave the house.
I think holidays are usually...
I think I did research on this.
Holidays,
I did research on this when I was writing reviews, and because I was writing reviews when this episode aired, just to get the statistic, Halloween is the 3rd worst holiday in terms of ER
hospitals.
Yeah. So there's that.
I'd imagine so.
Then you have Thanksgiving, and I'm pretty sure it's Christmas because of people shooting off fireworks. And Christmas and New Year's. There you go. Anyways, the ER scenes, Irving leaves Devin with this case and this guy, and he both has an arm and a leg that's severed. And let's just say that Devin's left with AJ and an intern that's very childish and is moving the hand around to make jokes. Devin didn't have fun. The BTS photos of that scene are hilarious with Manish and the severed hand. But in terms of the episode, Devin wasn't too happy with it. So, but Malcolm just has these one-liners that are hilarious.
That's the one where he gave Devon a thumbs up, right?
Yes. But the lines in the OR where they're putting the man's
arms together.
Yeah, they're putting his arm and leg back on.
Ouch.
Belle, Kit, AJ, and Mina. And they're fighting over who's going to have Mina. Yeah, that was funny. And of course, we've also find out that Kit's not only a mother, but a grandmother, who we meet her granddaughter and her daughter and son-in-law in the next season. So, spoiler alert for people who haven't gotten to the end of season 3.
Yeah.
And then there's one other plot line, and it's Belle and Grayson. And I had forgotten that this was Grayson's first episode. Because when we interviewed Radak, he mentioned the scene where the Belle trying to get watch porn on the hospital server.
I love Radak.
And I think it's hilarious because the reaction where Bill goes, "You're fired," that's a real reaction. Radak had no clue that Bruce was going to do that until he did it.
Like this, we know that scene where when Radak is playing the video games and Belle tries to fire him. I think that's the one he said was his audition, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's like his audition, tape audition. He said that he looked at it. He was the only one who was like playing a video game, very childlike kind of thing. That's probably how he won the part. But I really want Radak back, and would it be great if him and Grayson and Belle's stepson get together or something? You know what I mean? I still want Grayson to be gay.
It would totally fit the plot line of the show. I think they could do it justice with no problem. But I think it's funny that Radak goes, the hospital server blocks, or Grayson goes, the hospital server blocks porn. How do you know that, Grayson? And why? And seriously, I understand Belle had an issue, but why are you watching porn on the hospital server? You're not supposed to be doing that on the job anyway. But yeah, this is the episode where, as Radak put it, he pretty much hooked his mom up with Belle, and he said that's the one thing that he would never do. So, but I find it funny that Belle didn't know about the connection until after the fact, and he's like, "Oh, you're Grayson's mother." That, you know, Radak was like, "That's the one thing I wouldn't do." You know, I was like, "That's really the only thing that Grayson's done that you wouldn't do." But I found it funny that
I like though that he defended his mother to Belle. Because remember in season 3, he was like, "You gave my mother syphilis."
I think it was gonorrhea, but yeah, he was like, "Yeah, you gave my mom STD," and I was like, I was like, Grayson, actually, you put them in this predicament. So if he actually did give her gonorrhea, you're the one that actually set it up. So.
But I just love how, like, he was so, like, you know, I'm about to kick your ass in 5 seconds if you don't explain to me how my mother got gonorrhea.
Sorry, spoiler alert for season 3. Because I know there are a lot of people that are in Europe and in other countries who are just now getting season 3 and catching up to us here in the US. So, and it become The Resident has become one of the most popular shows in France.
Yeah, I heard.
Yay! Thank you.
Yay! Bonjour.
But those are really all the topics that were in this Halloween themed episode of The Resident.
Yep.
And it's crazy because I had forgotten about Grayson being in this episode, and then it was his first one. I had completely forgotten until that scene popped up. I was like, oh my god, it's Redacted. I think
we just talked about this too.
Yeah. So hi, Redact. I know you do listen to us somewhat. So hi. But next week's episode will be discussing episode 304, which is Belief System. It's the other Halloween themed episode of The Resident. It's the Minotaur Kiss, if anyone's wondering what episode. Okay.
Hey guys, pray for me, I guess. Pray for me I get a negative coronavirus test. I just took it. And B, pray that I do well with the surgery. This is for my foot. My foot isn't healing well enough. The bone infection isn't going away. They've changed my IV antibiotics. They've added 2 more. It was supposed to be a 6-week treatment of IV antibiotics. This was supposed to be my second to the last week, but they added 2 more weeks. So instead of 6 weeks, is 8-week treatment. Plus, they changed my IV antibiotics because my old IV antibiotics wasn't working well enough. And then my doctor isn't happy, so he's gonna go and surgically, like, debride my foot and stuff like that. And hopefully everything will get better soon. But it's a struggle. I'm scared.
Yeah. Just keep her in your thoughts and prayers. And
I don't want anything. I just want to get better. I don't want to deal with this anymore.
In November, we're going to be doing 111, which is And the Nurses Get Screwed. And then we're going to be doing 112, which is Rude Awakenings and the Raptor, the first appearance of AJ, and then the episode where Bradley falls through the skylight. So then 113, which is Run, Doctor, Run. And then we're going to go into our Thanksgiving week, which will be episode 308, Pecking Duck Day. So we'll be celebrating Thanksgiving that week. And then the last week of November, because there are 5 Mondays in November, will be 114, which is Total Eclipse of the Heart. So we'll be finishing out season 1.
We say bye-bye to Lane.
Yep. Well, not completely bye-bye. She shows up in season 2, so.
Yeah.
But almost completely bye-bye. As a main character. Yeah. So, so stay tuned for all that, and keep an eye on our social media, because we will be posting more about that as we get to it. Speaking of social media, Facebook, it's the Resident Rulebreakers podcast. There's also a Facebook group, which is the Resident Fox fans. They're connected to each other. And if you're going to be in the Facebook group, you have to answer all the questions, or you get declined.
Yep.
We're tired of people not answering the questions, okay? Just letting you know. Then there's our email, you can always email us at theresidentRulebreakers@gmail.com. Our Instagram, which is The Resident Podcast. And then you can also follow Camille, which is The Resident on Fox Fans, and then me, which is KB Country 37. And then Twitter's Resident Podcast. And then, of course, our Patreon, which has had no activity. I've been so busy, I haven't been able to do anything with it. Sorry about that. Thank you to our one Patreon patron. Thank you very much. I'll get to that, I promise. I just moved, so sorry. And then, of course, how to listen. There's Podbean, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Spotify, and of course our YouTube channel. So there's all that as well. So next week we'll be doing Belief System, which is 304. So until next week, I'm Kayla.
I'm Camille.
Bye, guys.